Hello, Excellence family. I'm Christina Swingas, agent concierge for Excellence Mortgage and Title. And I am here today, privileged to meet with Paul Sardone, the attorney for Excellence Title. Good morning, Paul. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, Christina. Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. The week has gotten off to a great start. And I always love the opportunity to chat with you. Today, we want to talk to you about homestead exemption and assessments on properties and some key pointers of what we need to know.
Yeah, this is an important topic and one that I've unfortunately gotten a few calls from people now that the trim notices are out. So the proposed tax bill for 2023 is out now. Taxes will be due in November. And some people are seeing substantial jump in their property taxes because of errors that they committed, whether it be in transferring the property or how they structure their ownership. So that's what I want to talk about today. So there's certain protections in place, both on homestead and non-homestead property, that limit how much you're going to pay in your property taxes. The most known one is your homestead exemption. So the property that you reside in, you get the homestead exemption, which it automatically discounts $50,000 from the market value you pay on, and more importantly, I feel it places a cap on your property taxes. The increase each year to 3%. So no matter how much your property's worth, if your property doubled in value from one year to the next, as long as it's your homestead and you maintain it, you are only going to see that 3% increase in your taxes. Now, there are situations where we've had where people don't realize that transferring, I had one client that for some reason spoke to somebody, not me, obviously, who told them that it was better to own all their real estate in an LLC, which is true for protection purposes and investment properties a lot of times, but there's no need in Florida to hold your homestead property in an LLC. But they went ahead and did a quitclaim deed themselves. They created an LLC and they transferred their all their properties, including their homestead property, and that they've lived in for over 20 years. So now they lost their homestead exemption. They lost their assessment reduction. So they were paying taxes basically a 3% increase for the last 20 years when the property has more than doubled in value. So property taxes went from around $4,000 to around $15,000 on that property. So when they received the trim notice, they called their a realtor they know, who then referred them to me, and I said, yeah, I mean, LLCs cannot have homestead exemption, so you've lost the homestead exemption. You did this deed; it's a valid deed. There's more complex legal ways to maybe reverse it, but in this case, I don't think it's feasible. But that's one example. That's the most commonly known one. On investment properties, there's a cap also on how much, even if the market value goes up more than 10% in a year, the taxes that you pay won't go up more than 10%, the value, the market value that you pay on. So I have another client who it was a husband and wife, and they bought a duplex property 15 years ago, and they had their son, who was a minor at the time. When they bought it, they put him on the title. Well, their son is now, they've owned it, no problems, renting it out, making the rental income. Their son is married, and they started getting worried about having him on the title, because if there was any issues with the wife, they didn't want her to have a claim. So they went ahead and removed the son. They all signed. The son was okay with it. They left it to him in the will or whatever it may be. And they transferred title from the three of them, husband, wife, and son, to just husband and wife. Well, that triggered a reassessment, and they lost their cap on the investment. So those property taxes went from I think it was $3,400 to $11,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So when they received their trim notice, they called me. We've called the property appraiser. We've called the county, and they've spoken to everybody. I mean, they just said, well, it's the same owners, but there was a change in title, and that triggered the reassessment. So the main thing here is make sure you protect those caps, because you don't realize that over the years, especially property you've held for a long time, homestead exemption is an obvious one, but on investment properties too, sometimes, you know, they may be, well, I have this property under this company and this property under another one. I want to put them both under the same one. It's doable, perfectly legal, no problem, but you may be, you have to be prepared for that jump in the property taxes that's going to occur whenever you make a transfer of the investment property. So there are exemptions to this. If there's two people on title and there's a divorce, it's a husband and wife, if there's a death, if you transfer it to a trust because of estate planning, it's the same person, but now you transfer it to their trust, you can still have the homestead exemption and it doesn't trigger reassessment, but there's limited exemptions where this doesn't occur. Just because you're staying on title of your investment property, but you added, you know, your brother because he's giving you some money to repair it, that's going to trigger that reassessment. So you don't want to have that surprise come next year when the trim notice comes and you find out you got to pay double or triple the taxes.
Oh my gosh, here they were thinking they were doing something, you know, for liability reasons, moving
Yeah.
off, and then that was a
Yeah.
big surprise.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
say, I mean, I think we see a lot where people think they can just do the quitclaim deed themselves and, you know,
right,
the title of your home is no big deal. I can just transfer it to and from. But there really
right.
is a lot of thought process into it, and there's some requirements you need to know about, some,
Yeah,
you know, things that could trigger a costly increase
yeah,
in your tax bill.
right.
I
Yeah,
would,
I just had a consultation on Monday with a client that they have an LLC and it's three partners and they're buying out one of the partners, and they came to me. I asked them during the consultation, like, why are, you know, I did the paperwork for this person, and then they wanted to go ahead and transfer the property to a new entity between the two remaining partners. And they were going to do this themselves. And a realtor actually recommended them to speak to me before doing it. And I said, why are you guys, and they're, no, we just want to start fresh with a new company. I'm like, well, we just did the paperwork to transfer the shares. That person no longer factors in here. You paid them. And if you do this, they've owned the property for over 20 years. If you do this, your property taxes, now you're making a transfer. And those you same two guys who are there now, by transferring the company that owns it, you're going to more than triple your property tax. And this is a significant piece of land where they already pay a lot of taxes, and the taxes would have been over $40,000 yearly jump in property taxes. Yeah. So
definitely check it out. You need to definitely,
yeah,
I mean, we encourage you to, you know, if you hear of a situation like this where people are trying to change ownership, always run it by, you know, a professional. Paul knows the ins and outs of the law. We are here to support you. These are just some examples, but you would not want to mess with a nice low tax rate,
yeah,
knowing better. And yes, it is important to think through estate planning and how you want your, you know, property titled, or in this case, two business owners, but you always need to have a plan and a legal set of eyes to look at it to make sure you're not just, yeah, I'll do it myself and then move the property over. And that is a sizable change in your tax bill that you don't want to encourage.
yeah. And the other thing that's really important is one of the cases, if all the agents who are listening to this, don't do a quitclaim deed for anybody, even if it's a family friend, because one of them, the agent actually prepared the deed for them. I guess they called, and then so you don't want to get involved in that. It could be giving, you know, legal advice and things like that, a liability. You know, it's not worth it. Tell them, call an attorney. It doesn't have to be me, or do it themselves, but don't do a quitclaim deed for somebody thinking that you're doing them a favor because something like this happens or there's other consequences. And the first thing that person does in the consultation, because I've been on the other side of it, say, oh, my realtor told me they were going to do it. And you know, you're trying to do a favor, you're probably not making any money on it. And you're just doing it as a gesture of goodwill, and it could come back to bite you. So always recommend that they figure it out themselves, or better option is they speak to somebody, preferably a real estate attorney who's going to guide them and let them know all the different consequences of the deed.
I think that's key. And I think, you know, all of our excellence agents have here excellence title. We have you, Paul,
Yeah.
can help us. And we've done numerous ones. We get
Okay.
calls a lot requesting a quitclaim deed and for whatnot. You know, we run it by you first and give you the scenario, and then
Right.
we do it. And it's really not hard for them. They provide the information. It's a pretty quick process, but you do have Paul's eyes looking over it, and ease of working with Excellence Title to know that you're working with a reputable, you know, company that supports you and gets it done properly with no surprises. We don't want to increase anyone's tax bill or put anybody into a liability situation. You can rest assured that we will process it the right way and that, you know, your client will be taken care of. So I encourage you to reach out to us. And Paul, is there anything else we need to know about change in property type or moving over the title?
No, I think that about covers it. Just, you know, the main takeaway is you don't have to know everything, but always ask before you do something as significant as changing the title of, you know, of your property. Even though it doesn't seem like a big deal, it's an easy thing to do. You got to fill out a document and record it. It could have you know, consequences, unintended consequences and surprises. So it's always better to ask. There's no stupid questions, and you know, just run it by us, the scenario, and you know, we'll let you know.
And we really appreciate your support, Paul. It also is key for transfer of title later on. If you go to sell and you haven't done that change of title right properly, then
And
it comes up with the title commitment for the new
yeah,
buyer. So
right,
we
right.
want to be sure we, you know, like he said, no question is silly. Call us. We're here to help you. You could reach us at our agent hotline, which is 305-595-7355, the option for title. You could email us at support@excellencetitle.com, and we will get back with you to have a plan in place for your client. So, Paul, thank you so much, as
All right.
always, for
Anytime.
supporting our agents and always being there for us. We really appreciate everything you do for us. And agents, we look forward to working with you and hearing from you. Reach out at any time. We're here to support you exclusively. Thank you, and we wish you a wonderful week. Take care.